I'm Elizabeth K. Wine, founder and executive director of Music Export Memphis. Welcome back to the beautiful Memphis Listening Lab for Export 101 with Marcella Simien.
It is beautiful in here.
It's gorgeous. It's ridiculous.
You can feel all the energy from all the albums.
You can. I'm moving in.
Yeah.
They don't know it yet, but I'm going to live here. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. I'm so excited to talk about the evolution of your career. Before we dive in, give us the quick sort of who are you as an artist? How would you describe your sound, your music, and where can people find it?
Okay. Well, I am a psychedelic-soul Creole artist. I am pretty experimental with my approach to how I present my music, and I'm all about how we can push boundaries and try new things.
Yeah.
And my music is streaming on all streaming platforms, and I've got some new stuff coming soon. I'm very excited about getting in the studio in January, and a couple new projects going on too. So
I love it.
You can find me under the name Marcella Simien, and also Marcella and Her Lovers.
Love it. Love it. Okay. So let's kick it off with your very first tour. Reminisce a little bit. Tell us about, when that was, that experience. Yeah, we'll just leave it open-ended. Spare no detail.
So the one where I really felt like, there was one in 2018 that I remember being the first string of shows where I had a big opportunity to play Summerfest in Milwaukee. And so that was really nervous and excited about that. And I remember I had a little extra help, but since that time, it was really just been all me. But my dad drove us in his van.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And my mom came along too, which was, I don't know. It was an experience.
That's intense. Yes.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
I loved having the help, and the guidance, and they're already established, and I learned so much from them. And it was really ultimately a fun tour. There was one argument, it happens, when there's just one.
I was going to say only one. That's really good. Yeah.
Oh God. But, we did 5 shows, I think. And it was in the Midwest. So Milwaukee, Lincoln, Nebraska. And we went up to Berwyn, Illinois, did Fitzgerald outside of Chicago. And couple that I'm forgetting, but it was amazing. And I know that we had assistance from Music Export Memphis, and we couldn't have done it without it.
Yeah,
truly, because it's so hard when you think about all the things that it takes, all the moving parts of building an itinerary and doing it all yourself.
Really. So did you book that tour on your own?
Well, I had the help of my mom.
Yeah.
She helped. She was stepped in as an agent, and helped negotiate some of those deals. But as far as tour managing and all that, I was figuring all that out myself of how we're going to do what, how we're paying for the hotel, gas, how we're traveling, and, who needs what.
There's so much.
Yeah.
Literally that takes up your brain space, I feel like, right? Logistically, you have to think about. Is there something you can remember being surprised by, or being that was the thing that you were like, oh my gosh, we even have to think about this, everything.
Everything. Yeah, no, but I had an older musician with me who was very particular about what, how he ate on the road, which is not, I respect that.
Yeah.
But he was very particular about every day how he was fed.
It's a complicating factor.
Think about that too, but let alone the intention of building a show that has a really lasting effect on people. Do you want to plan it out, have a narrative, have a plan, and all that? It's the creative part of every day. And to me, I feel like when you go to different venues, every venue is asking you for something different. Every audience is asking you for something different.
Yeah.
And so you really have to tailor it to each specific place. And so it's how do you do that? It's a whirlwind. And with juggling logistics and the creative side. So, it's fun. We love it, but it's also a lot of.
It's a massive amount of work.
Yeah.
It's a massive amount of work. And when you think about too, as an independent artist, to your point, there's this creative offering that requires so much of you to put together and to do well.
Totally.
But then also, as soon as it's over, you're also the janitor, and you're also the, you're also the roadie, you're also the driver, you're also like, there's all these other jobs that you have, and it's just that that's a big load to carry.
It is.
Yeah. Has it gotten easier?
Yes.
Why?
It's just like with anything. It's like a muscle. The more you do it, the better you get at it, you know? And I've become more I'm firm and assertive with how I do things the older I've gotten.
Yeah.
You know, I was very unsure of myself. And the older I've gotten, I've felt a lot more confident in choices that I make.
Yeah.
You know?
How do you feel like being a woman sort of plays into that, or I'm just thinking about becoming more assertive, thinking about becoming more confident, I think that for a lot of us, for a lot of women, that is something that there's a longer learning curve on that for us than men.
Yeah.
And I wonder how you feel about how that's progressed, particularly thinking about being out in the world, being out on the road and kind of having to hold your own as a business person too.
Yeah. It feels less of a challenge the longer I've been doing it, but it's sort of shocking when I look back on like things that I've been told as a woman that I'm not so sure my male counterparts have experienced. Like whether it's, hey, I feel like you'd do a little bit better if you dressed a little different. I feel like you would do better if you, chose this type of material to say, like, from creative things to a lot centered around image and how you look.
Of course.
That's the big one that I just am
No, they're not
shocked.
saying that to the men.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
It's
Are you any better now at letting that roll off of you?
Oh, yeah. I just don't care as much.
That's good.
I've heard this motorcycle gang thing, Dillagaff. Do I look like I give a?
Yeah. But you can cuss here. We're very welcoming to that.
It's like, it's so, I think we've gotten a little too wrapped up in the image part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And music is not pageantry. This is a soul communication. As performing artists, I think it is definitely a gift, a divine gift. I'm certain of that. But more than anything, our role, I think, is to be a messenger to the outside world, to reach a hand out and to say, hey, it's okay to be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to be uninhibited, insecure, express yourself freely. Like it's so less about the look of things. I mean, it's wonderful to have a great aesthetic quality. Of course, I'm an artist. Like I get it, but what we're doing is it's on such a deeper level. I think it's our duty and our responsibility to remember that intention of being a messenger to encourage people to be themselves.
Yeah.
And be free in who you are. And like, I get on stage and you get in the flow state, you lose sense of how you look, who you are, where you are. And that's, I think, the beautiful part of it. Or one of the beautiful parts of being an artist. But anyways, I strayed a little far from that. But
no, that's okay.
Like the image thing just really, that's I think a big one that I think maybe we don't talk enough about,
Yeah. I think ultimately it is, to me, it's exciting and impressive to hear you say that you can let it roll off of you, because I think for a lot of people, that is really hard. Like, you're sort of in a role for so long, you're in a space in a career, and for some reason, it just doesn't get easier to let that stuff slide. And so I'm glad to hear you say that.
And I'm human. I have my days.
Yeah.
I definitely don't feel, confident every day.
Right.
But it's gotten easier.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So some of the artists that I've talked to in this podcast and that we work with at Music Export Memphis are those ones that are like touring constantly, right? That are never off the road. It's like, they're on for like 30 days and then off a little bit. And that's definitely not you. That's not how you've approached it. And so and it's not every artist, but I'd love for you to talk about the role that you see touring playing in your career.
Yeah.
You know, how you think about it and in terms of like your strategy.
Yeah. I mean, I could see, you said at the beginning of that, you said on 30 days, on home and on.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I mean,
They're just gone.
just gone
They're
all the
always on
time.
the road. Yeah.
And I have so much respect for that. My dad did that my whole life. 70% of the time in my life, he was on the road.
Yes.
You know, and it's like, I think one of the most effective ways to have a career and that lasts. That's a last.
Can also like kill you though.
Totally. Yeah. And I mean, the come down from a tour is another thing people don't talk about. It's like coming back in the real world. You're like on this high, and every day it's like you have this mission every day that's like so exciting. You know, you're getting there, you're doing this thing, you feel the excitement and the buzz of the audience, and it's this high that can't be described. And then when you come home, it's like back in reality, you know, and you got to recover, and like it can be a harsh reentry sometimes. But like, I think there are people. I think you if you're built for that, I think it works.
Yeah.
You know? I can see myself going either way. You know, that is something that I see a lot of value in that, and in being gone a lot, because how else are people going to hear you? You know, how else are you going to share your message and your art? But and honestly, I just don't have an agent that's like really pushing me to do that right now. So if I did, I'd be open to doing it.
Yeah.
So my strategy right now is just pretty much like whatever comes my way. If it makes sense financially, I'm gonna go pursue it. You know? Now my manager is like acting as my agent and really, really, really being aggressive about finding new opportunities for me.
Yeah.
And looking in the performing arts sphere and looking at how we can present this as, you know, less like a club, you know, thing, and more on a performing arts center scale.
Yeah.
Which is just a whole nother world.
Well, and let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So you are going to something called APAP, and we have been able to support you with an export bank grant to do that. Yes. So, and I mean, just to plug that, like if you are finding that you have some kind of career altering opportunity that you can't afford to get to, Music Export Memphis can help with an export bank grant. So we're helping you get to APAP, but let's talk about this. Obviously, the PA stands for Performing Arts. But what is APAP? You've been before, and let's keep going on this thread you're talking about, and like how you're thinking about this conference in terms of your touring strategy.
Well, the performing arts centers, just generally speaking, have consistent budgets that are really substantial every year, and they're ready to bring in. I mean, you also have to be, you know, there has to be some element of like interest to them. A lot of these art centers are looking for someone with some deep roots, cultural roots, a story, which everyone has ultimately, you know. But they're looking for a show that's an experience. Yes. You know, and you really have to be intentional about what you're presenting. And for me, you know, I'm doing a couple different showcases. One with this project called Magnolias with my friend Ann Harris. And we started developing this a while back. And we're bringing on like a third person that might be an alternating person. But our whole message, I mean, it's really just like, we're expressing what our perspective as two female musicians of color who have been, you know, deeply, deeply connected in our craft and our work, and really want to share about our ancestry in our songs and in the way we perform. And I mean, it's just kind of, we just have this thing. It feels like magical when we're together. Yeah. So it's really special. That's exciting. And then I'm going to be doing another showcase with my dad where we'll be digging a little deeper into Creole educational our history as a family and like our roots that are deeply rooted in Louisiana, hundreds of years.
Yes.
We've been, our family's been there. And there's a really colorful cultural story there. And it's a part of Black history in America that's very unique to that region.
Yeah.
But just in the same way that Memphis is.
Yes.
That's why it's just like Memphis artists, I feel like would just be, it's just a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Like there's such a great story there. And that's how I feel so at home here. It's like, I mean, I hate being away from Louisiana, but I feel so at home here because it has a similar raw, genuine, just like cultural intensity.
The energy. Yeah.
It's woven into it. It's like the vibration is so strong that it's like it's undeniable.
Yeah.
And I feel like South Louisiana is like that in the same way. It's like its own country.
Yeah.
But I recognize that in Memphis, that Memphis is like just as raw and I mean, powerful.
Yeah.
And any artist that you see from here, you feel that.
Yeah.
You know?
So you're going to APAP with this offering that you're talking about. You're going to do these showcases. And then the idea is that all of these folks who are booking these performing arts spaces are in New York City for this conference.
Yeah. And a lot of them, I mean, hundreds, they're there.
And you go in with the expectation that like, we're going to book gigs off of this.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Because I mean, it happens.
Right.
Yeah. We got to go to the spot. Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the exhibit hall in this Hilton in Manhattan, there's like 3 or 4 stories of like just the conference of people with booths. Agents are walking the floors, coming to booths, seeing artist booths. There's talent agencies actually have their own booths where artists can come and introduce themselves, promote themselves. There's this great exchange that happens.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. I mean, I didn't really understand it as much growing up, but my mom started leaning into that. And that's how my dad sustains his career.
Right.
I mean, he's able to do these educational performances during the day, which help because, as we know, touring Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays can be hard.
Yeah.
And you can't just be out on the road not having any income. So he's working during the day, doing educational performances, and then doing evening performances at night, sometimes at the PAC, sometimes at a venue.
Yeah.
Sometimes at a festival or a Levitt series. So there's just so many different ways to approach touring, and that's one that really seems to work.
Yeah.
Good formula.
For somebody who's watching this and who's like, okay, well, Marcella knew about this world because of this exposure through her dad and you know, maybe knew how to access it. What would you tell them about how to connect into this? Like, you know, how do you go about getting a showcase at APAP? Or is it something that you would say, you know, just go, just attend and look for these opportunities to just learn more about the space and what it is?
That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Be present with, like, I remember you said once about how networking is like kind of an awkward thing at first, but it is something that you can develop over time.
Yeah.
Just the more you throw yourself in, like just get your feet wet, watch other people, you know, find a buddy system. Like I'll help you, you know, like just like pairing people with other artists who've gone or whatever, and just watching and learning. And like, that's the only way you can. That's the only way I did. I was really shy the first time I went. That was not.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. I just went to I wanted to go to New York with my parents.
Yeah.
That's how I saw it as a kid. I was like, I don't know, 17 or 18. And then when I came back as someone who had been developing a career, it was like, okay, I see this and this is important.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
For folks who are like, how do I do this? Just go is the advice, right? You know, and just, you know, look for, look for those ways that you can plug in and explore the community maybe and try to learn. But like you've got, I think, 4 or 5 showcases while you're there. Yeah. So what's the process been like booking those?
Well, they come from usually, I mean, well, my manager and my mom manages my dad. My manager also sees the value in APAP, and he brings all his artists and other people that he knows in. And we had a great turnout at this first one that we did earlier this year.
Yeah.
And then my mom, you know, knew this other musician who hosts one every year. And she just always checks in and says, hey, you know, if there's a spot, we're ready.
Yeah.
And So it's about just putting yourself out there, even if you don't have anyone representing you, and just, it doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah. I'm hearing two things though in some of what you're talking about. And one of them is, yes, okay, so you've got some folks who, knew about this space or maybe had a connection or relationship, but ultimately you have to get on that stage and you have to present something that is going to be worthwhile, right? So what does it mean for you to be ready for this opportunity? And then I think the other thing I'm hearing you talk about is story, right? And I think that, there are a lot of artists that who would probably say, okay, well, if I dug a little bit deeper, if I thought about this and reflected on it, I could find better ways or more compelling ways to like package my own story. And that feels really, really important. But I want to go into that performance space. I mean, how do you prepare? What does ready look like for you?
Ooh, I like this question. Well, it's exciting. It's like, this is you get to look at, especially when you're you're going to be in front of a lot of, like, I remember, I'll use the Americana Fest, Pure Memphis Happy Hour, 2018. Mm-hmm. I remember Ann Powers was in the audience.
Yep.
Bob Boylan.
Yeah.
It's like, I felt it. You feel it. And it's like you feed off that. It's like a little bit of, it's not nervous nerves, it's excited nerves.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, yes, I'm gonna show y'all everything I got.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you everything I got. And that is exciting to me. So it's like you can come in with a plan, which I always do, how you want to be presented. Being an artist is so much about understanding how to empower yourself as a small business owner. Mm-hmm. And me, I grew up, like, I saw my parents do it, but I was very, like, as a teenager, I mean, I have an anti-establishment kind of heart.
Yeah.
So it's like the idea of thinking of my art like a business really turned me off at first. And it turns everyone off. It's like,
yeah,
yeah, it's not me, that there's nothing creative about, marketing but there are.
But there is. Yeah, there is. Yeah. It's
and you
a different thing.
And you just got to structure how you think about it. But it's like when you are your own business owner, you call the shots. You get to decide what gets done, when and how. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful process ultimately. And so when you have this opportunity to present yourself, it's like, okay, I'm going to show you what I can do. I'm going to show you how I want to connect and how important this work is. Mm-hmm. I mean, take pride in what you do because you're doing an important thing. And that's what Music Export Memphis totally represents for me, just encapsulates this whole thing of not only making an impact on the community of artists that are already have careers, vibrant careers. You're giving them professional development opportunities, touring opportunities, but also encouraging the youth and emerging artists to say, hey, this is possible. Because in our society, unfortunately, our parents, our elders, they don't encourage you to have a career in performing arts or creative sphere at all. I mean, it's sad, but at least that's how it was when even my parents were like, no, you need to go get a degree. Yeah. Like, this is not, but I totally went against, I got a degree, but I went against their wish for me to not be in music. But it's like, it's possible. You're showing people, you're standing up and showing people this is possible here. And you're giving people the power to do it. And it's just, that's incredible to me. It's like because there are so many communities where I come from in Lafayette, and other places all over the world where the musical talent and the culture is so rich that people tend to sometimes take it for granted. Absolutely. And not see the value in it. And artists have a tendency to just pay me what you can. It's my friend and da-da-da-da-da-da. And they don't place value on themselves. Mm-hmm. And it's like, again, that's a hard thing to do at first. But if you don't place value on yourself, ain't nobody else gonna do it.
That's right. That's right.
So it's like, you got to just just understand that your talent and your time and your efforts and everything you do to build your thing is of great value and great importance.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, God, because we're told, I mean, we're just, it's easy to convince yourself that you're not. It's so easy to fall into bad habits of not being confident enough, feeling challenged, feeling like, oh, well, this person next to me, well, they got all those opportunities. What's left for me? Or they're doing this. I guess there's no room for me or whatever. And it's like, I've had all the negative thoughts you could think, you know, about how are comparing and all these things that just don't serve you. Ultimately, it's like everybody has their own path and everybody is allowed to have a career.
Yeah.
You know, whether you agree with it or not, whether you like their music or not, hey, you know, whether you vibe with them or not, everyone has a path and and everyone's journey looks different. And just because someone else got an opportunity that you didn't get doesn't mean that yours isn't right around the corner.
Okay, thinking about this, well, frankly, any space in the music industry is going to be, in any industry, there's going to be so relational, right?
Yeah.
And you've already talked a lot about, you know, I knew this person or you know, somebody that I knew had this connection.
Mhm.
But, you know, and the networking piece, right? We have to go in and we have to get uncomfortable a little bit and we have to make those connections. So what I'd love to know from you is how you think about maintaining relationships. Like you're meeting somebody potentially who can do something for you. And what is, you know, what's your philosophy? What's your approach, or what advice would you give to somebody about how to build and keep those relationships?
Yes. Be genuine. Don't just do it for the sake of the money or the opportunity. Really get to know the person.
Yeah.
Look at them like a friend, a colleague that's a friend, you know? I mean, you don't have to go to, you know, but just enough to be personable, be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what people respond to, you know, being genuine. I mean, it's like, it really is that simple. It's you look at them with the same respect that you would want and maintain the connection. Like,
Yeah.
get in touch every few months. You don't have to reach out every month or whatever, but like check in.
Yeah.
Or quarterly or whatever. Like, hey, just wanted to share this new song. Hope you're well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really that simple. Don't inundate people with too much.
Yeah.
But just check in and be natural, be yourself. I have a hard time talking about like myself or my like accomplishments or whatever, but it's okay to do that sometimes. You know, again, don't overdo it, but just say, hey, I just got done doing this had this great experience in the studio doing a song for Disney theme parks, like with Irma Thomas. And like, it was one of the coolest things I've ever done in my life. And it's like, the people love hearing about your success, especially if they are invested in what you do, if they've presented you in the past, or if they're a fan, whatever. Like it can be inspiring to some people, you know? But specifically with presenters, just keep it professional, but still be kind and friendly. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
I think
just be yourself.
Being yourself and being genuine and just seeing it as a human relationship.
Yes.
You know?
Thank you.
That's important.
You just said it in short.
I'm just sharing everything that you're giving me. Yeah.
Human relation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So we don't have a lot of time yet. Want to kind of wrap up here, but would love just one piece of advice for an artist that's watching this, who's really wanting to grow their career and wanting to get outside of the city. Yeah. What would you say? What's something that you maybe wish you knew long ago?
Well, that let yourself be seen. You know, all of you, you know, like you gotta be real with the world. And like, that's what people respond to. You will not get a connection from an audience if you're trying to be something that you're not. So just be who you are and see what happens, you know? Be who you are with yourself. Try not to be judgmental of yourself and your thoughts, and just give yourself grace, you know, in the process of all the work that you're doing. And this comes with time too, but like, trust yourself, you know, trust that what you want and your gut feeling about something, you know, trust that. Be present with each other.
That's we have to end it there. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Marcella. This has been wonderful. Yay. Thank you. That was awesome.